This headlamp costs just around 30 euros, is fully waterproof and still manages to get a few important things wrong. But are those things so wrong that you will not ever buy the Wuben H4 headlamp? Enjoy the video! Hey everyone, welcome back. And for those of you who just tuned into my channel for the very first time, my name is Gijs and I'm an outdoor gear nutter from the Netherlands. Today we're taking a deep dive into the Wuben H4 headlamp. This is a lightweight headlamp aimed at trail runners, hikers and general outdoor users. And as always, I didn't just test this casually. I took it out in proper winter conditions. I've used it in the Netherlands during wet windy nights and also in central Sweden, where you get long darkness, cold temperatures and unpredictable weather. So, this is not a first impression, this is a field-tested, experience-driven review over a longer period of test time. And I can tell you already, the H4 does quite a few things really well, but there are also some clear limitations that you need to be aware of before buying. Now let's start with a quick overview of what the H4 has to offer. The headlamp has a maximum output of up to 800 lumens, and we'll come back to that later because that number needs some context. You get three light sources, a 4000 Kelvin neutral white flood beam, a 6500 Kelvin cool white spot beam and a red light mode that I use a lot while I'm reading a map at night time. Now the beam pattern is quite interesting too. On the left side, when worn, you have a wide flat lens over 80 degrees, so that's really a wide flat beam. On the right side, a more focused spot beam between 10 and 20 degrees, so that one is more focused. Power comes from a rechargeable Li-ion battery pack, and that's charged by USB-C cable and of course a power bank or maybe your computer. And as a backup you can also run it on 3 AAA batteries. The lamp is rated IP68, so fully waterproof and dustproof, which already puts it ahead of many competitors in this price range. And speaking of price, it comes in at around 30 euros, dollars or pounds. So clearly positioned as a budget-friendly, no-nonsense headlamp. Now let's start with what I always do, look at the size, weight and of course in this case the packaging. The H4 comes in a compact cardboard box with regrettably a plastic inner tray. Personally I would prefer fully cardboard packaging. It is possible, others do it, and that's just more sustainable in my opinion, but that's just a minor point. Now the weight. Wuben claims a weight of 80 grams, but when I put it on my calibrated scale at home, I measured 97.4 grams with the battery and the headband attached. So that is quite a noticeable difference of 17 grams. And that is for a small headlamp, it's, well, quite noticeable. In terms of size, it is somewhere between a golf ball, well, not really, it's more the size of a tennis ball, so it's compact enough to easily fit in a jacket pocket or the top lid of a backpack. So from a portability standpoint, no complaints here. Now the manual, yes, it comes with a manual and the manual is actually very well done. Once you unfold it, you get a clear schematic overview of all operation modes and button functions, and that makes it easy to understand how the lamp works even out on the trail. It is available in multiple languages including English, German, Spanish and a few others. And because it is so tiny and also so flat, it fits also in your backpack and you can take it with you. So simple but effective, or maybe I should say simple and effective. Looking at the charging system and the batteries, charging the H4 is very straightforward, but it's not perfect. You need to open the back of the headlamp and remove the battery. The USB-C port is on the battery itself and it's facing inwards. And that feels a little bit illogical at first, but it is probably done for better weather protection. Now in cold conditions opening the compartment is manageable, but with gloves it becomes very fiddly. And removing the battery requires using a fingernail to get behind a small notch, so don't cut one nail too short. And again, no gloves here. Charging time ranges from about 45 minutes to 2 hours and 36 minutes, depending on your charger. And these are numbers that I tested in real life, just sitting at home on my desk, with several chargers, of course. The battery indicator is simple. Red while charging, and it turns green, the manual says blue by the way, when it's full. Now from the outside you also get a basic status indicator, but you need to press a button to activate it. Blue when full, red when empty, and a few steps in between, although they are very hard to see. And one thing I do like, and I mentioned it already, if your rechargeable battery is empty, you can switch to 3 AAA batteries, and that adds a layer of reliability in the field. Now, light operation and controls. The H4 uses 2 buttons on top. On the left side there is a round button for the floodlight, and on the right side a dotted button for the spotlight. And you can feel the structure on top of the distinction is excellent. With gloves it becomes more of a left versus right situation, but still very usable. Now, a short press turns the light on, but now I should switch it off first. A short press turns the light on or off. Turn it on, and holding the button cycles through the brightness levels, low, medium and high. Now the H4 also has a turbo mode with the full 800 lumens. Activating is done by, and let me turn it off first, by pressing it once and then press it twice, and then you've got the full 800 lumens. But more on this later, because there is a small minor thing you need to know about this turbo mode. Now it doesn't matter if I use this button, press it once and double press, or I use this one and double press, and vice versa. I can use all buttons for every function basically. Now the red light is accessed with a long press, and it doesn't matter which button you use. If I press it again, then it goes to blinking beacon, and when I press it again it goes into the SOS mode. Now the beam in the standard mode, it is quite bright and focused for a red light, which not everyone will like. I noticed on the trail when reading a map it is quite overpowering basically, but it is functional and definitely on the stronger side. Now there's one thing that I need to mention, and now let's put that one on and let's long press to turn it off. Now there's one thing that is really funny on this headlamp, and that is gesture control. This is one of those features that sounds very cool, and to be fair, it kind of is. You can wave your hand in front of the lamp to turn it on or off. And to activate this gesture control, turn the light on, then hold both buttons for about 1.5 seconds. A blue breathing light indicates that it's active, and interestingly, you can still switch between flood and spot mode while in gesture mode. And that's something that is not mentioned in the manual. Now, would I miss gesture control? No. Is it a nice extra? It absolutely is. So a big definitely yes here. And now we come to the first major flaw issue. There is no lockout mode on the headlamp. That means the lamp can turn on accidentally in your backpack and drain completely. The only way to prevent this is basically removing the battery. And honestly, I consider that as a serious design flaw. And now let me put the light on, because it looks a bit nicer. Well, let's talk about lumens. Wuben claims up to 800 lumens. Now, lumens tells you how much light is emitted, but they don't tell you how useful that light basically is. And for that you need to look at lux, the amount of light reaching a surface. Now, in the past I tested headlamps in a professional lab environment, and these days I do it just outdoors. And what I did, I measure lux at 5, 10 and 20 meters. And that's something that I've done for my most recent headlamps, but also in the past. And for the H4, here are the results. And I'll put them on the screen and press pause if you like. Spot beam low is really very minimal. Medium and high are usable, but not really exceptional. If we look at the flood beam, it's very soft, especially on low. High is decent for close range use. Turbo gives a noticeable boost, but still it is not extreme. And now let's talk about the maximum throw of the Wuben H4. Together with my wife, I tested this in a very practical way. She stood with the lamp, I walked away wearing a reflective beanie. And it was a very dark forest road and there was no moon. At the point where I was no longer visible, that's the number that we noted, and that is what I consider practical throw, so the reach of the headlamp. The maximum usable throw we measured is about 40 meters, and that is less than the claimed 66 meters that is calculated in a lab using the ANSI standard. But if you compare the laboratorium value to what we measured in real life, that is quite close to what it should be. So 40 meters is what you get. Now, if we're looking at real world use and its strength, then that is really where the H4 shines. It is the usability of the lamp. The interface is very simple. The buttons are easy to understand and the headband is absolutely comfortable, breathable and stable even while I have been running. There is a silicone strip that adds grip on a beanie like the one that I'm wearing at the moment and also prevents sweat from running into your eyes. The lamp tilts up to 90 degrees with clear notches and it stays firmly in position. The 4000 Kelvin floodlight is absolutely my favorite. It gives a soft, even light, almost like a big softbox in front of you. Perfect for camp use or general movement. The spot beam is colder but useful for focused tasks or even running. One small issue, the jump from high to turbo is quite big and your eyes definitely notice it. So you have to get some adaptation in your eyes when you do this and also when you're powering down again. Now, in winter conditions the H4 performed very well. In the Netherlands it handled rain, mud and wet trails without any issues. In Sweden, in sub-zero temperatures, they didn't affect the performance noticeably. The IP68 rating gives confidence because it has proven to be absolutely waterproof. It works well over a beanie and remains stable while running. Inside a tent in medium flood mode it provides a very nice warm ambient light. Not as nice as with some other lamps that come with a sort of softbox that you can put around it, but it works absolutely nice. Maybe you can create something with a sock yourself. Now, battery life and temperature. Battery performance I notice is absolutely solid. At around 20 degrees I measured in turbo mode a runtime of 2 hours and 30 minutes to almost 3 hours and 21 minutes. But one important detail, turbo only runs at full power for about 1 minute and then it steps down to around 350 lumens. So be aware that turbo is not 800 lumens constant. In freezing conditions at -5 degrees, it still ran for 2 hours and 30 minutes in high. And that's absolutely cool because I measured it when I put the headlamp already outside for the night. So it was absolutely freezing cold at that time when I did this test. So that means that you don't need to have this one in your sleeping bag to make the batteries work again in the morning when you wake up. Temperature wise, it never got uncomfortably warm. Maximum I measured was around 40 degrees on the front where the lights are, and on the rear I measured a minimum temperature of 25.4 degrees, but average it was about 34, and this is of course inside. Outdoors at -5 I measured a maximum unit temperature of 7.3 degrees. Now, with a IP68 rating, this lamp is fully dust proof and can handle submersion up to 2 meters for 1 hour. And I must say I did not test this because, well, I was not in wintertime going to swim with a headlamp because I don't think that's the purpose for it. In real use, rain, mud, snow, no issues whatsoever. Exactly what you want from an outdoor headlamp. And now let's talk about the major flaw number 2, glasses issue. If you wear glasses, this might be a deal breaker because the bottom of the housing is made of transparent plastic and light leaks through it, creating glare in your glasses. Now, I asked my mate Brian to look at it as well, and he came to the same conclusion. It is a little bit depending on the tilt of your headlamp, but it can become very, very annoying. And yes, you can fix it with a black piece of tape, but that's not ideal. Now, I've talked to Wuben about this problem and about some other issues and questions that I had about the manual and some technical stuff that was not totally clear to me. And I must say, Wuben's support was fast, clear, and very polite and helpful. Now, like I mentioned already, I had some questions about the output of the H4 because the 800 lumens and the way how it is dispensed, it was not as bright as I thought it would be. So I thought maybe this is a pre-production sample or maybe it's broken. So Wuben very promptly sent me another one to check this one. And well, basically they perform on the same level. So the comparison test does not make any change in the test results. The results of this lamp compared to that one were very, very consistent. And I'm basically very thankful that Wuben is so very good at the customer service and that they are so willing to help and respond every time. So customer service is absolutely solid and friendly. And now, with all this said, it's time to head on to my verdict. How do I rate the Wuben H4? Now, after several months of testing, the Wuben H4 stands out as a simple, rugged and reliable headlamp. It doesn't try to do everything, but what it does quite well. It is comfortable, stable and performs reliable in cold and wet conditions. The dual beam setup is practical and the interface is easy to use. I love the buttons, especially those ribbons on top of them so that you can feel where the buttons are. But there are some downsides. Getting the battery out requires a nail. Battery changing with gloves is difficult. Turbo mode is not the full 800 lumens over longer periods, and then it has some serious flaws. First, there is no lockout mode, and second, the glare issue for people like me who wear glasses. Now, the price, the Wuben H4 retails for almost €30 and $30 or £24. And that means it doesn't break the bank. And at this price point, those limitations and flaws may not be deal breakers for many people. And that is why I rate the Wuben H4 at a solid 7 out of 10 total. If you found this review useful, then hit the like button and subscribe, and please leave a comment. What headlamp do you use, for example? I would really like to know. And if you want to see more gear put to the test, I've got a couple of videos that you might like. Now, if you're looking for a new headlamp, then don't miss out on my Nightcore UT27 review. And if you are more the thirsty type and looking for a new stainless steel sustainable bottle, then watch my review on the Clean Canteen bottle that I did a while ago. And you will see how gear holds up after years of real world use. And both videos are packed with hands-on insights just like this one. See you in the next one. Enjoy the outdoors and stay safe. Ciao, ciao!